Greetings, adventurers. Do you seek news about the gaming world? Then you have come to the right place. Sit down and relax because your host Dvalin will update you on everything you need from the gaming world with his companion Alumio. Give them both a big welcome and welcome to Gaming Landscape Podcast. And hello everyone and welcome back to another Landscape Gaming Podcast episode. This is episode 4 and we are excited to have you all back. And hello Alumio, welcome back to episode 4.
Glad to be here, just as usual, and glad to have new things to discuss.
Of course, this episode we're gonna talk about some very critical things, like people are raging on Twitter right now about them. So let's see if this is something that you also are gonna rage about. So the first topic we're gonna talk about is about Ashes of Creation. You have heard about that game, right?
Yeah, I've heard about it. I did. I look at some of the systems, etc. Yeah.
Okay. Because it's first time I ever see this. I have never seen a game do this, but they have. Well, the verbal NDA for Alpha 1 has been lifted, but the visual NDA still applies. So do not share screenshot of videos outside of private NDA channels. And do you know what that means?
What?
Like, they have just removed the verbal NDA. I mean, who removes a verbal NDA? I mean, so the people who has Alpha 1 that have paid $500, they can now talk about the game publicly, but they can't show images.
Okay. Surprisingly, curiously enough, right before we started this, I was literally going through the Ashes of Creation subreddit, so I was reading posts about this, about alpha testers sharing their feedback and experiences. But that's quite something funny to me personally.
Yeah. I mean, I feel I have nothing, and everyone who's listening to this, I have nothing against Ashes of Creation, but removing a verbal NDA, it's like people can now just trash talk the game. And trust me, I have seen a lot of trash talk from alpha players about this game, but they can't really show it. You know, they can't show why they think it's trash. They can only talk about it. And I personally, Alumio, I personally think this is hurting the game more than it's giving good things.
I'm trying to think of it, like what benefit it brings, like why they would just lift the verbal NDA but keep the image one still. Like, I'm trying to see.
Well, I think I
what
know
benefit that would do.
I think I know why. I mean, I think it was because they were supposed to lift the full total NDA on Alpha 1 right now, but they had to delay it because they didn't think it was ready. So I think it was like, we can't give you the hand, but we can give you the little finger.
Because if their issue with that it just simply wasn't ready, and they wanted their first impression to be better, like lifting the verbal one is still going to potentially cause issues if there's problems to say, and like people don't like what they saw. Although I can understand the fact of, because it's verbal, other people that were not in the alpha test only have words to go by. They can't see it for themselves. So I suppose in there it does not have the same level of impact as lifting the visual NDA would, because then you would have footage out there and you would have examples of points of complaint that people would have, and that way any basically a lot of people that weren't in the alpha tests would have examples to look at, would have things to be able to see for themselves and create their opinions around their first impression. I suppose after thinking a little bit on it, that's the benefit of giving a finger by lifting the verbal NDA due to them delaying the full lift without causing as much damage as they would if they lifted a visual one without being ready to the level they wanted. I could see it through there, that being the reasoning.
Yeah. You might be right. And also, I mean, if there is some positive players and they really give it a positive vibe and talk good about the game, that's also a benefit.
Exactly. It comes down to the fact that you have people saying, okay, this is crap, this doesn't work, and you have people saying, hey, this is good, there might be a little issue here and there, but overall it's going well, etc., and people won't really have the visual the visual examples to see who's exaggerating, who's being correct, etc. So they're still left in the middle, sort of.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and I mean, it's the reason for why I put this topic out is just so all the listeners, they can like see. I mean, just like know about if they see someone talking about the game and they experience about it, they know now why people are talking about it, because the verbal NDA is lifted. Okay, should we like move on? I think that's pretty much what we can say to that topic.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Super. Okay, so topic number 2 is about New World, the MMORPG from Amazon, and I'm pretty sure you have heard about that one.
Yeah, this also blew up discussion-wise.
Yeah, and let's go to it, because the reason for why this game is blowing up all over Twitter, and basically the director or whatever he's called himself, Steven from Ashes of Creation, he's even, like punching out on New World. And the reason for why is because they have introduced everyone to a new in-game shop. And let me read up what it says here. Amazon's New World is said to have a paid items that are exclusively cosmetic in nature at launch, and quality of life items and battle pass style program may come later. So basically, before we start talking about it, that means at launch, when the game releases, probably the first couple of months, you can only buy cosmetic stuff in the shop. But then later on, you can probably buy like maybe experience boost, I'm not 100% sure, not stuff like that can give you stronger items than everyone else, but like quality of life items that can help you like going faster to level. And just to defend them for 1 second there, their director came out and say, well, we know everyone doesn't have 6 hours to play games every day, so we want to help the family dads and so on who only has 2 hours every day to level up their accounts faster in the game. And boom, boom, boom. But before I go in and defend this even more, Illumio, when I read up this, what do you first think in your mind about it?
Well, the first thing is that you have the at launch. So yeah, you're gonna have cosmetics only at launch, and then they're gonna start introducing quality of life, whatever they define as quality of life, if it's just the boosters, experience boosters, or if it's gonna grow into being something more than that. But with that in mind, not including the XP boost at launch, I'm pleased with that. Including them after launch, if it's not something as literal as a month after launch they introduce it, or something like that, if it's a decent amount of time post-launch, then I don't really have too much of a problem with XP boosts. If we go into technicalities, I could see that being, well, it is, you could consider that pay to win, because if a new player comes in after launch, they would have to deal with, if they were trying to compete with someone else, someone else paid, there's pay to win in there. But in the spectrum of pay to win, in my opinion, XP boosts post launch, a decent amount of time post launch, are very low in the scale of pay to win. And And I think it's something in the business, because like the business evolved since the introduction of free-to-play MMOs and microtransactions to the gaming market. The market, in my opinion, shifted a lot towards that, and to that being the primary, the best means of generating revenue, uh, just by looking at stuff like League of Legends and a bunch of others being a very high in the terms of revenue, the revenue they generate. That if you don't have a subscription on an MMO, which in my opinion is the healthiest financial monetization for an MMO, because it allows the game to keep its vision and not have to alter anything or compromise any integrity to make money. But at the same time, if we are realistic, it's not the most profitable. So more often than not, something with a subscription model would eventually get a cash shop or some other means of getting revenue. Just looking at World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
But with the market that we see, if we don't go with the subscription based, the least toxic option after that, in my opinion, would be the cosmetic skin shop, which is one of, if not the most common monetization method, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And that's like the least amount you have to tolerate, in my opinion, if you want to basically play modern MMOs.
Yeah, for true. Okay.
But if you continue that with that quote, I don't know if it was on that one or if it was in the original leak, of the alpha, cash shop being tested, that they also mentioned XP boost for professions or something like that. I don't know if you have that in that quote.
No, I don't have that with me here. Well, I know I just took like the small snip. I know the original one where New World or slash Amazon is explaining about it. That's like a big one. But I didn't take that one with me. I just took this one. But just I like to give my quick opinion about it. Like, if they had experience boost from launch, I would say hell no. That's cheating as hell. Even though I'm a family dad and I only have like 2 to 3 hours every evening to play games. I don't think it's fair that people can use boost in the start, because some people, they can buy the game and play 20 hours. Some people can also buy the game and play 10 to 8 hours, but can also buy unlimited of these experience scroll because they just have a big, pay card. And that's not fair. But releasing the experience boost, like saying 3 months after the game has released, that's not a problem with me, because then all the hardcore players, they are already in max level, they are already full in crafting, they play the end game, and then I feel it's fine that new players with a lot of money in the bank, they can go in and catch up with their friends. I personally don't see a problem with this, but I know people on the internet, they have been complaining about this, but I'm just going to be one of the content creators in the world saying, nah, it's not a problem with me.
Because I know in my opinion, it's a matter of debate of if you fully stand against it and you really don't want any sort of things like this. Because let's be honest, it is a shoe in the door sort of thing, where they can start with this and they could very well just expand to add worse things, like sort of like in a way that WoW is doing slowly in the most recent like times, where they're just slowly introducing more and more shoes in the door, so to speak, and just adding a bunch of different things that people are not liking. I can see that very well, but if we are being honest, you either tolerate it or you don't play, or you don't have anything to play. You'd be very rare that you'd get like a game that would not go at least in the lowest spectrum of the pay to win, being the cosmetic cash shop, where where you don't really pay to win, but for the people that consider the visual progression in the MMO an important thing, it's sort of a pay to win on that matter, but it's the least impactful one. And the least toxic one, since it doesn't actually affect proper game balance. But yeah, you either stand firmly against it and you don't play anything, or play like 1 or 2 games that happen to not have anything like this, or you just have to shut up and tolerate it and move on with your life, because it's very unlikely, in my opinion, virtually impossible for this market flow, for like this current state of the market, to change back to how it used to be, because it's just too ingrained by now. And it's been proven already, and it's shown that these means do generate more revenue, and companies are just not going to go away from it. It's not going to change.
No, but yeah, again, yeah. But for me, as you said, describing the different persons, I'm gonna be the person who's like, yeah, I'm gonna shut up and just play a game. Yeah, okay. But yeah, just to discuss a second, a very hot chili topic. Do you have more comments on this one?
No, I think it was that. I do believe that, in adding to what I mentioned before, that I believe one of the original quotes also mentioned XP boosts to professions. And I think just a small additional comment on that is that, yeah, those are definitely the ones where, regardless of being at launch or post-launch, that I would consider at least in the middle of the spectrum of like pay to win. If you can just progress your profession to a higher level faster, where you have to grind less materials to create items, so you can level yourself up. You level up your profession up, sorry, and then you get to the higher stuff, and you can start pumping those out to get money faster with the less materials you need to gather. I consider that to be a very relevant pay to win thing at that point. And that's pretty much the boost so far, experience boost so far, that I completely don't agree with. And regardless if it comes at launch or not, and we'll see how that comes out. And I think, just as a last thing, I think they also mentioned they would have potentially battle passes in the future that would have like a combination of some boosts and quality of life stuff. Like
I mentioned the battle pass before. But yeah, don't you think just like battle passes is just gonna be like cosmetics, like because it's gonna, battle passes normally are just like pure cosmetics, but it's only cosmetics you can get in this month.
Yeah, like I don't mind that, because ultimately it's just like, I mean, let me rephrase that. It's not that I don't mind it; it's that I tolerate it.
Yeah.
Because there's a level that you have to tolerate, or you have no game to play out of principle, because it goes against the principle that you're trying to stand for. So cosmetic battle passes is just like the next. It's basically the next shoe in above a cosmetic cash shop, because then you involve time limited things, and fear of missing out starts coming into effect.
Yeah, and battle passes is something that it's a thing that has been invented, and it's gonna be there. It's gonna be there for many years.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, I tolerate the cosmetic ones, but the ones that were being described by New World, I don't agree with, because apparently it was like, it's not a fully cosmetic one. It's a combination of stuff you can get on the cash shop, and that could include quality of life boosters or boosts and whatever. And yeah, I don't stand for that.
No. Okay. Well, I guess we have to see once the game releases, but it's not something that's gonna scare me away. I'm still keeping my pre-order. I'm still gonna play on 31 August when the game releases. So to another topic that is something I'm not really normally a guy who gets like upset or annoyed about things, but this one actually annoys me like a lot. And for the moment, I've been super happy for the developers about this game, and everything about this game has been super awesome, and they have been taking me into the content creator program fine. And you're probably thinking right now, what the hell is he talking about? But the game I'm talking about right now is Swords of Legends Online, and it's beginning to become a meme now, because people is saying they talk about this game on every episode. When are they gonna stop talking about this game? And I'm I'm not gonna stop talking about this, because they just posted something that I hate so much. So if the developers of Sword of Legends ever hear this, I just hate it. I hate it so much. But Alumio, I know you right now sitting and thinking, what is it he hates? Because it's very rare he say he hates something. And let me tell you, because in Swords of Legends Online, they are gonna have PvP, they're gonna have battlegrounds, arenas, and they're gonna have plenty of different modes. They're gonna have like a lot of modes, like 15 versus 15, 10 versus 10. They're even gonna have a battle royale mode where you're like, I think you like 5 on your team. I think it was 5, and then there's gonna be like 6 different parties where you have to like loot up gear and stuff like that. So they're gonna have all the popular PvP modes in the game, and of course that sounds super awesome. But now it comes to the thing that I hate. It is everything that I just mentioned is in a timed gate. Most of them, like over half of them, can be played every day. Like every day. But only from 1 a.m. to 11 a.m. So that means if you wake up before 1 a.m., which you probably normally would do, then you can play the game. And if you want to play the game after 11 a.m., like PvP after 11 a.m., I mean, most people, like right now, look at the clock, it's even over 11 a.m. If I wanted to do arena right now, I can't, because it's outside the timed area. I mean, why are they the one to control when I am allowed to do PvP? So what do you think about this? Because I think it's, sorry, bullshit.
Is that a stationary schedule?
It,
Regardless, it's bad. Let's get out of the out front. It's bad.
it's a 100% stationary and controlled schedule. So you can see on each background, you can click on them, see the timer, the date. Some of them, and that's not the voice thing, some of them is only open Tuesday and Thursday, and some of them is only open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and some of them is open all the time. But they are all between 1 a.m., 11 a.m., and some of them is even less than 1 a.m. to 11 a.m. They only 5 hours.
So it's literally only open in the night time and a little bit in the morning. 1 a.m. to 11 a.m. Is that right?
Yeah.
That is what. This is European time, right?
Yeah, I mean, developers are in Germany, so it's 1 hour ahead of you.
If they're in Germany, why is this targeting, I assume, like an American schedule, 1 a.m. to 11 a.m.? Like, because I assume that's 1 a.m. to 11 a.m. European time. So that's like a bunch of hours where people are sleeping in Europe.
Yeah, you're right, because 1 a.m. is 1 at night here, and 11 a.m. is like that's like, yeah. Oh my god, then that would basically mean that I would never be able to do PvP because I would be on job.
That's what I'm understanding. Like, if this is European time, and like, you'd basically either force people to have to stay up late to be able to participate a bit in it, or force them to play earlier in the day. Like, that seems a bit off, and I'm not really sure if that is exactly how it sounds, if there isn't like some potential error there. But regardless of that, if the schedule is correct or not, it's a garbage decision. I can sort of assume that it's there for queue management or something of the like, so they don't spread the population, the PvP population, too thin between a bunch of modes. But regardless of that, that isn't a good way to do it. If they have that worry, then they should, while it's unfortunate, they should cut off like a mode or two, because you don't want, as a developer, to restrict when your players can play or push away potential players, in this case PvP players, due to the fact that they simply cannot play the game for how they want to play it, like for the purpose they want to play it for. Is there like open world PvP on this? Is there like a potential variance, like something that the PvP player could do outside of these scheduled modes?
No, well, I don't think. Maybe there's gonna be like open world PvP. So and there's gonna be duels. But I actually think I have write something wrong down because I'm looking through the website right now, and that's my bad because when I was talking about it, I was actually having this in my head, but I wrote it wrong down. It's actually from 11 a.m. to 1 a.m.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah,
It's
definitely,
still garbage, but it makes more sense.
Yeah, that means now I can basically go home from work, put down my kids to sleep, then I can play at 10, and then I can play 1 hour before PvP closes.
Yeah, it's still a garbage decision. Like, it's not a player-friendly decision.
Exactly.
Like, at all, but at least it's better than 1 a.m. to 11 a.m.
Yeah, definitely. So everyone listening for that, sorry for that. But yeah, I mean, still, this is, oh my god, what are they thinking?
Yeah, it's just there's not much to discuss around that. It's literally just a bad decision, and if they want to, if they, like I said, their worry is queue management and spreading the population too thin or something like that, they should just cut off a mode or two and make fixed modes, because that's not a way to handle PvP at all.
Yeah, they could just do like World of Warcraft, where they have like every week they change which battleground is the one, and then everyone can only sign up for that one, no matter what time it is. Because I mean, this is only allowing me to play 1 hour PvP every day. It's like, what the hell?
Even something like that like would be fine. Like I would not mind this daily schedule if it was something like affecting maps, like the current maps that are active, not the actual modes. But barring that, like the next step could be, like you said, the mode changing weekly or something, but you have no restriction behind when at what time you want to queue for it and play for it and for how long. But this one just sounds completely off and just a horrible option.
Yeah.
When they had so many different other ways that they could do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I'm in a creator program, and if they ever gonna ask me how I feel about PvP in the game, I'm gonna give them my honest opinion, and I hope a lot of people is gonna give their honest opinion about it, and they finally change it. Hopefully.
Like, and this is my opinion, and I'm sure there would be like someone that would be an exception to this, but I'm almost sure that even someone that is a pure PvE player would disagree with this option and could see the issues with it. Because you could literally draw parallels with the PvE side. What if a PvE player could only do dungeons, specific dungeons, from 11 a.m. to 1 a.m.?
Exactly.
And like they can't, like, because correct me if I'm wrong, at least most raids and such, they have limits of how many times you can do a raid for a week, for example, or whatever it is, but they don't actually have a time period where the raid is open. At least the good MMOs. I'm sure the free-to-play MMOs have like some events and like some PvE modes that are locked behind this, like these dates and such, but a decent one, yeah.
Yeah, and I did a miscalculation again just before. That's very dumb of me. But of course, if I play at 10 at night, and if the servers for the PvP is first closing at 1 a.m., of course, then I have to 11, 12, and 1. But that allows me for 3 hours of content. Of course, in a normal workday, it would be fine because I would no matter what go to bed at 1 a.m. But in a weekend, I could easily see myself staying more late up then. But Illumia, I think this has something to do with, this game is already out in Taiwan and China, And I have heard things about, in China that games have timers on and so on for me. Some people they don't like play like what I mean, like playing crazy much.
Yeah.
Like in World of Warcraft, I think they have added, so if you play 7 hours in a strike, you get like 20 or 50% less experience points if you don't take a 4 hours rest. So stuff like that. So I think it's something they have brought over from just the China version of the game to make people like go to bed in the evening. But yeah, let's hope it's something we could convince them on, convince them removing.
For sure.
So to a number 4 topic, we're gonna talk about my favorite at the moment, MMORPG. And the reason for why I say favorite is because it's the game I can actually play. Of course, we all know that I love the game Corepunk. We all love that. I know you also love it. But this game is a game that we actually can play, and it's called Final Fantasy XIV. And this is a game I love playing right now, and they just had the FanFest. And if you don't know what the FanFest is, Alumio or listeners, FanFest is basically the same as BlizzCon, but it's basically just, Final Fantasy holding it for their fans. And usually it's an event that is, like in close, like it's together with all the fans, like BlizzCon usually used to be. But because of, the situation of the world, they're not allowed to be all in a big room. So they did it online. But during the Final Fantasy XIV annual FanFest, which was all digital this year due to, the situation of the world, the game director Naoki Yoshida announced the Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker will release on November 23. So basically that means we have a new expansion coming out for Final Fantasy with new continent, I also believe we're getting 10 more levels. I can't remember that. I'm not going to say that 100% because else someone is going to shoot me. But I know we're going to get 2 new jobs. We're going to get a healer, which I think was called a sage. And then we're going to get a new DPS, which was revealed at the event this last weekend or whenever it was. And that new DPS was the job. It's not called class in this game. It's called the job. It was the Reaper. So if you like to be like with death magic and running around with a big scythe, well, you can be a Reaper now in the next expansion, which is pretty cool. But on the 23 November, we're going to get the next expansion for Final Fantasy. And before I give you the word, Alomio, I'll just say it's actually a pretty perfect time they're going to release this, because in June, July, we're probably going to get like Swords of Legends and Ilion. And in August, we're gonna get closed beta for Corepunk, and we're gonna get a new world fully released. And then after August and September, I don't think we're gonna get anything. And then in October, I don't think we're gonna get anything else. And then November, we're gonna get Final Fantasy, which is perfect. And then we know in December we're gonna get Corepunk, the next Corepunk the MMO. And that means basically I can probably play Final Fantasy a couple weeks before Corepunk comes out. Pretty cool. So with all this information I just dropped in your head, Alumio, what do you think?
Well, I always liked Final Fantasy in the sense of mechanically and the depth of what can be done in it, and the PvE on it, etc., and the fact that, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe you can be all classes and like level them up and such.
Yeah, one character can be all the classes, or as they call them, jobs.
Yeah, I like all of that. And I do like sometimes watch content about it because I find the systems interesting. Sadly, on the sad part, like I do UI and art style, it's too overloaded for me to be able to enjoy it. It's like the main thing that draws me away from it. But I'm happy that like it seems that a lot of big things are coming out to it for it. I'm not really sure, nor do I have the knowledge to be able to judge how big in the scale this new expansion is. Because I know we discussed this this convention in a previous episode, and the history of the expansion of stuff that was being announced in those kept getting bigger and bigger. So I'm not really sure how to classify this new reveal in the scale compared to the things in the past. But yeah, it's good for the fans of it. It's more content, more things. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I think the new job / class that is coming, the Reaper, which is the DPS. I think that is a pretty asked one. I think a lot of people, they have been really asking for getting a dark sorcerer. I mean, we already have is it called the dark mage or something like that? But what's I think people really wanted this, so I think that's a big, very popular one. But for saying which size this event had, I think it's actually on the same size as Shadowlands for World of Warcraft, because it looks like we're getting like same things, except I'm someone who's gonna kill me for this, what I just said, because we're gonna get the same things as Shadowlands for World of Warcraft, because we're getting new zones, we're getting new dungeons. Both of the games is getting this endless dungeon, which is just like, changing rooms all the time, and it looks pretty cool. So we're gonna get, one of these dungeon crawler dungeons where you can just like keep running, and defeating. Both Shadowlands and Endwalker is gonna get this. They're gonna get new zones, new lore, new badass stuff. But the one thing that Final Fantasy is winning over World of Warcraft with is that they're getting 2 new classes / jobs. So that is, of course, a pretty huge thing, because I mean, in World of Warcraft we didn't get anything. We didn't get like a new race. We didn't get new classes. And in Final Fantasy we're basically getting 2 new classes / jobs, and we're getting 1 new race. We're getting one. There is already one race, but you can only be like female. I can't remember what it's called, but it's the one with the bunny ears, like a very tall person with bunny ears. And now it can also be a male instead, only as a female. So I guess we're gonna get kind of like a kind of new race. So for me, I think this is actually like a pretty big expansion for them, and I think I can talk for the Final Fantasy community and say they are pretty hyped about this one. Especially the Final Fantasy fans on my Discord channel, they are pretty hyped about it. But I mean, this is just also again information for you, Illumio, and this is information for the listeners. So if you have ever been thinking about trying the game, I think it's a good time to start now. And remember, you can play the game for free up to level 70, I believe it was, or 60 or 70. And then you have to pay a monthly subscription. And if you want to play the new expansion, you have to level up to maximum level before, because you cannot just buy the game and play from day one. As you, for example, can do in Elder Scrolls Online, then you can always just buy the newest expansion and play that new expansion. No, you have to level all the way up, and then you can probably play it. Yeah. So, Alumia, I know you don't play this game, but do you have anything else you want to add to this game?
No, it's a straight up topic for me. It's just more good things for the people that love it, and potential big new pull to get new players in, like to all the flashiness of like this big new thing coming out. But yeah, I wish the best for it, and for the people that love to play it.
Awesome. So the last topic for tonight is about Elder Scrolls Online, which is a bit of a weird game for me, because I've tried sometimes. I always have it installed and I always play it like randomly. But for some reason the combat always throws me out. But the lore and the dungeons and the music, everything in the game is so perfect. But the combat is just a bit fun. But Elder Scrolls Online is releasing a new expansion called Blackwood, and it's releasing on the 1st June, which is very soon. Like we're talking like 11 days or something like that. Like super soon, 12 days probably. And in this new expansion, of course, it's the typical things. Like actually we don't get any new races or classes, so like nothing big like that. But we're getting a new zone. We're going back to the game called Oblivion. Alumi, have you played Oblivion?
I think it's a bit of a shame to say, but no.
Oh God.
I have an issue. I have a very big issue when I'm given like a lot of freedom in the games where I just block and I don't know what to go, what to do or where to go.
Yeah.
Like I can't deal with the notion of having maybe not complete freedom, but a lot of freedom in what to do. because I just see a lot of options, and my brain just starts analyzing like, what if I do this, what if I go here, etc., etc., and it doesn't stop, and I cannot make it the decision, so it eventually shuts down.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
no, I have not played
Okay.
like Oblivion and stuff.
It's probably also a bit unfair because I know I'm like 4 years older than you, right? And once the game released back in 2006, I was theoretically 4 years older than you, so I guess like I don't know, this open world thing was maybe more appealing to me. But I know what you mean, and I'm not trying to say that you're a youngster. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to say, but I know what you say because I didn't finish the game. I played it as a casual noob. I ran around killing random people in cities, joining random guilds in very weird parts of the world, and going into random portals and killing things. So I didn't really probably do anything good in the game. I just like enjoyed that I could run around, listen to the music, and kill stuff. But back back on the topic. So the next expansion, Elder Scrolls Online, is going to be about Oblivion. So if any one of your listeners have been playing Oblivion, you will know a lot of the things from Oblivion in this game. We're gonna see the city, the main city. I cannot remember what it's called because I didn't play it that much. But we're gonna see the main city of Oblivion in there, and you can run around in it, and it's like so close to Oblivion game, and it's gonna be like some of the same soundtracks and stuff like that. So if you really loved Oblivion, it's gonna be a blast for you. But I'm not here to talk about the new expansion for the Blackwood because I actually already think we have talked a bit about it. But I'm here to talk about a new system they have introduced, which I feel is so cool. And Alumio, you have to listen to this because it's a topic that I really like. And they have invented a new system. Well, invented. I've seen other games do it too, but they have just taken to the next level. They have invented a system called the companion system. And basically, you can hire two persons. You can either hire a male or a female. They are different races. And beside of that, you have like two persons you can hire. You can then give them whichever items you want. You can give them plate armor, you can give them leather armor, cloth armor, you can give them a healing staff, you can give them a bow, you can do whatever you want. You can give them skills and stuff like that. And then while you run around in the open world and questing and stuff, sometimes you're lonely and you're like, oh my god, I'm so lonely doing this quest. Well, your companion are there for you because while you're doing quests and opening some crates, he's like killing some rats or like looking at some stones, saying some random stuff. He's always, or she is always there for you, doing some random stuff, talking to you, interacting with another NPC. He's like, it feels like you have another, let's say, fake player that always is with you, walking with you, mounting with you, fighting with you. You don't have to feel lonely anymore because you always have this fake AI that runs around with you and really tries to feel like it's a person, but it's not a person. But I think for some people, this can be enough for them to actually feel like they are playing with someone. But what do you feel about this, Alumio?
I think it's an interesting system where you basically have a highly customizable, not one, but like two, right? Two.
Yeah, but you can only have one active right now. I mean,
Okay.
so you have to pick between the female or the male, which is two different races.
Okay. But I think it's quite interesting because you're basically providing yourself with a very high level customizable, well, quote unquote, pet, in this case, companion, uh, that will just like support you, whatever. I suppose just constantly follows around and such. You can't send it to go somewhere and do something for you. It's just always on your tail behind you, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a plus in the sense that it potentially promotes a better social play for solo players because, like you said, they can potentially give somewhat of a feeling of you have a player helping you out, even while you're playing solo. But I'm wondering, how does that behave in group play? Could you have like a
Oh,
party of 4
yeah.
with like 4 companions?
Open world, you still have them, but in zones like dungeons and raids, they disappear.
Okay. So I'm not too familiar with like the open world content in Elder Scrolls Online. If there's like, is there any?
Yeah, they have like public dungeons, which it's just an instance big dungeon. You can go inside. You can use your companion in there. They have random bosses all over the places, like very big bosses, events. There's plenty of things you can do in open world, which require normally more players, but now of course it requires less players because people can have their companion with them,
Yeah.
and you don't have to be afraid that companions will look like the same. Because in Elder Scrolls Online they have this very cool system where you can change armor to the style you want. As long as you have got this style one time, you can always you learn how to craft it. You can always change your armor to that appearance. But you can also do that with your companions. So, for example, let's say there is some very cool style. There is always like all the 3 different armor types. They are always having the same styles. Then you can actually basically be, let's say, the ranger and have the leather style on, and then on your companion you can give him the plate style on and a shield and a sword. So that means you and your companion can have the same-ish styles, but just the plate and leather version, which makes it even more personalized because you and your body can look like you're really close to each other.
Yeah, like on the point of the customization and what you can do and potentially customizing the skill sets that the companion has, I think it's a very big plus and a potential. It's basically like a second character you're building while playing with your main one, and so there's a lot of it's a big potential depth of commitment for freedom and creativity of however type of build you want to do. I assume you could potentially try to make him a tank and you play as a healer or a
Yeah.
mage or whatever, and it's a good, very good freedom of that you don't see in most, if not all, other MMOs, where you are basically playing with a team of 2, like as a team of 2, and you have a bunch of options and possibilities to handle things and build something highly customizable. I suppose my only potential point of critique about this is that in the open world, that this isn't just artificially flooding, visually flooding areas or lowering difficulty of areas and such, where normally you would see 10 players killing this world boss, you could in theory potentially see now 20, like using lower numbers as examples. Now you see like a clutter of 20 people in there because everyone has a companion with them. And I'm wondering if, like, in cities, for example, I don't know how it behaves uh, in the game because I don't play the game and I could be completely wrong. But for example, in the city, you have like 50 people in this market area, and now you have like 100 because of the companions. So my only point of worry or potential critique is on that, of like how much visual clutter does this create, where basically every player is now going around with 2 characters instead of 1.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I feel you. Regarding cities, the game is played on one mega server, so you don't have to pick servers. It's of course differentiated, so it's Europe and US. But it's running on layers, so it's like cities are never crowded because it's always a different layer. So you never see too many people in a city. So I don't think it's gonna be a problem with these extra NPCs because normally cities are never too crowded. So I think it's just gonna add the last bit where now maybe cities are gonna feel crowded, but I think in a good way crowded. But yeah.
Yeah. it was my only point of critique that I could come up with, like just getting to know what it is that was happening.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very, maybe not moot point, like not negligible, but maybe negligible, of in the sense that it won't really matter at all, and people will just not notice, and like there won't be situations that would affect this. But yeah, I think that the benefits that it provides in terms of unique experience and levels of customization and gameplay diversity are miles above what the potential negatives could be,
Yeah.
that I can think of on the spot. That there could be some big negative with it that I just can't think of, or purely because I don't play the game, or because it's not an obvious thing. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, and they have released two very big like articles about it. I didn't read them full through. I just like skimmed them, and I saw the trailer they released on YouTube, so I know like the scratch of the thing. And of course, there's tons of things additional about this. But then, if anyone is listening and is interested in this, you can go to Elder Scrolls Online's website and read a bit more about this. They have two very big articles about it. But Alumio, I think we are at the end of the show now.
Okay. Yeah, it just went by really quickly. I did not even notice.
Oh, did you add more to the companions?
No. I mean the whole the episode in general. Just like it was having quite a big enjoyment just discussing it, and it just flew by.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we could extend this to like a 5-hour episode and force people to listen to us.
Not sure that would be much appreciated.
Well, yeah, I mean, we had a good talk. It was some very interesting topics, and I'm sure for next week we're gonna have even more interesting topics coming there. So, Alumio, do you have a last word for your fans out there before we say goodbye?
What fans? Do I have fans?
Wow.
Is that something I was unaware of?
Well, I believe we have a couple of fans who likes to listen to us discussing. So I don't know if we have like officially. Podcasting is very funny because it's very anonymous who listen it, and the numbers from downloads is not really correct. So, but I assume we have fans.
Well, if they are out there, thank you for listening. It's always a joy to be in these discussions, and I hope it provides good entertainment, at least.
And of course, if you ever want to chat with Alumio, you can find him on the Corepunk Discord server. He's very active in there. You can also, if you are lucky, find him in the Dvalin's Discord server. He's probably having it on mute, but you can probably ping him. But else, if you want to see more content from me, you can find me on youtube.com/DvalinDK. And also, it will help out me and Alumio a lot if you subscribe to this podcast, since it helps us in the algorithm of more people to find us. So, from me, thanks everyone for listening. It was a pleasure again having these discussions. We'll be back in 1 week. And yeah, so thanks everyone, and thanks for listening. And you can now say goodbye, Alumio.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.